Today, a review of Anohana, an anime about a teenage boy who is haunted by the scariest thing humankind has ever witnessed, the ghost of a cute little girl. For the last little while, I've been trying to widen the scope of anime that I watch. For the longest time, the anime that I've really only watched usually went along the lines of this.
I'll take a potato chip and eat it.
And I think there's nothing wrong with that, but this time I thought I'd try something a little different. So, in trying to expand my anime horizon, I decided to watch Anohana, the flower we saw that day. And no, I won't try to say the 3-sentence long full version. Advertised as a heart-throbbing drama, what is Anohana really all about? Well, Anohana is about a group of childhood friends who grow apart after the unexpected death of their friend Menma. Many years after her death, we follow our main character Jinta, who's become somewhat of a recluse over the past few years. While at home one day, Jinta gets a visit from a grown-up Menma who proceeds to haunt Jinta. And by haunt, I mean she's just there being all cute and stuff.
Kawaii!
Unfortunately, it turns out that Jinta is the only one who can see her. Menma visits Jinta to ask him to make her wish come true. And in fulfilling her wish, her soul will be able to rest in peace. The characters of Anohana are the show's backbone. Without them, this anime probably wouldn't have been as good as it was. The obvious standout for me was Menma. Honestly, she was the heart and soul of this anime. Always energetic, positive, and just fun to watch when she's on screen. All the childhood friends of Menma are also really likable. We have Jinta, who is someone that you can really sympathize with. He's tasked with helping Menma's soul rest in peace. And we only see his character grow throughout the series as he's essentially faced with letting Menma go from his life. We also have Anaru, who is a clearly broken individual who just wants to fit in. Tsuruko just wants to be noticed. And Popo is, well, Popo, the lovable big guy who's just happy to be there. And we also have Yukikatsu, who is, well, never mind, I take that back. Not all the characters are likable. Each of these characters have been affected in some way by the passing of Menma, and they all have to deal with it in different ways. This results in having some great character interactions on screen. This is especially true when many of the friends think that Jinta has gone crazy because he claims to see their dead friend. The characters feel real and behave almost as if they were actual people. However, a problem I have with the characters was that not all of them got equal screen time. I feel like characters like Popo, Tsuruko, and Menma's family needed a lot more time to develop as characters. The blame could be partially placed on A1 Pictures for their 11-episode format. Other than that, I feel the characters were really well done and really pushed the story along. That's why Characters gets an 8.6 out of 10. The story of Anohana is a really touching one. It has a very straightforward plot, but that doesn't make it a bad one. It's simple, it's elegant, and does what it tries to achieve, which is make you sit in a corner and cry for several hours on end. Unlike many other slice-of-life stories, Anohana does not focus on the romantic elements in the show. Yes, they do exist, but what's given more emphasis is the idea of friendship and moving on from their friend's death. This gave the story a refreshing and unique angle to approach us from, and might I say, it does a brilliant job. However, the story is not without its faults. For one, it takes 8 episodes for the most logical event to take place in the story. I don't want to dip into spoiler territory, but you'll know when you get there. After the 8th episode, the anime really starts to pick up in its plot progression. Another issue I had with the series was the use of flashbacks. At first, the flashbacks showed the audience what happened in the past. We often see the same flashback a numerous amount of times, often from the perspective of different characters. But the problem was the overusage of these flashbacks. We all come to know the events of that fateful day when Menma dies, but we are often fed the same flashback a numerous amount of times. It's kind of like the director would ask, "Are you sad yet? Well, how about now? Or now?" So, after all is said and done, I awarded the story of Anohana an 8.2 out of 10. The animation of Anohana was done by A1 Pictures, the studio that was in charge of Maggie, Silver Spoon, Sword Art Online, and Fairy Tail, just to name a few. And just like those shows, the animation was fantastic. The character designs were unique and fresh enough to get them cemented into my head. The scenery was, might I add, just stunning. This was highlighted by the bright and warm colors used in the animation. One aspect Anohana does really well animation-wise was the use of its flashbacks. The animation becomes really warm and fuzzy, especially with the characters. What I found really interesting was the change in animation wraps up the essential feeling of one's past in childhood. When looking back at your childhood, an event may seem a lot more fun and pleasant than it actually was, simply because our nostalgia gets kicked into overdrive. I really liked the way the animation captured this idea. Overall, the animation was really smooth and really well done. This has me giving the animation an 8.8 out of 10. If I had to pick one word to describe Anohana's soundtrack, it would be beautiful. The music really highlighted the feel and atmosphere of the show. The music creates this emotional ambiance. It's powerful and adds meaning to any particular scene. Some of these scenes would not have been as powerful and as emotionally gripping without these beautiful melodies. Yes, I love the opening theme, but the way Anohana handled the use of its ending theme was, dare I say, flawless. Every time there was an emotional high point, they would slowly creep in the ending theme. The use of the ending theme, Secret Base, was done so exceptionally well that by the time you get to the last scene of Anohana, there is nothing that you really can do but get emotionally invested. The atmosphere and the emotion and the feels were just brought out so beautifully, and a lot of this has to be credited to the use of its music. Voice acting was also on point. The cast did a phenomenal job, especially with the emotional scenes. Sound gets a 9 out of 10. So, what did I think of Anohana? Well, personally, I loved it. It was such a heart-touching story, and the series really means a lot to me personally. Yes, it wasn't perfect, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. This is mostly because Anohana touches upon so many themes that so many people can relate to. Anohana beautifully brings to life a story about how people deal with the death of a loved one. The death of a loved one is an experience that, sadly, all of us have or will experience in the future. It's shocking, unimaginable, and actually quite difficult to put into words. It hurts. When someone dies, society tells you that they're sorry for your loss, but at some point you should simply move on. That is something that's always easier said than done. What does it mean to simply move on? What does it mean to let go of this person that you care so much for? It's a long and heartbreaking journey, and it's something that Anohana is able to portray beautifully. Anohana is really thought-provoking and puts you in the shoes of its characters. It teaches us that even though it may be difficult, we still have to let go of the past. Don't think about the what-ifs, and don't feel personally responsible for someone's death. You have to confront your past, not run away from it. Don't let it consume you. Reconcile with it. Come to terms with the past rather than hiding. It's something that takes a lot of time and a lot of commitment, but it's something that needs to be done to move forward. Overall, Anohana is a really touching tale. The animation and sound are exceptional and really sets the stage for this anime. It's filled with a realistic and broken cast that seeks retribution, redemption, and solace with everything that's happened in the story. It builds up for the perfect climax for the series, and honestly, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's bittersweet and an emotional roller coaster. It's touching, it's beautiful, and it's something that should not be missed. So for my own personal enjoyment, I give it a very high 9.5 out of 10. So after tallying up all the scores, I reward Anohana a very well-deserved 8.71 out of 10. It also gets the inaugural iFire Favorite Award. It's an award that I give to an anime that I think really highly of. So that was my review of Anohana. I hope you enjoyed it. So please rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks, and bye guys.